Morning, guys. Morning. Hope you all can hear me. So I think I gave you homework in the last class, isn't it? Two scenarios. For that, I just asked you to come up with the normalization, not the normalization, sorry, the ER diagram, and then the relational schema, isn't it? Neda? ඔයාලට ලාස් ක්ලාස් එකේ මං හිතන විදිහට මේ හෝම්වර්ක් එකක් දුන්න කියලා හිතනවා. ඒකේ මං කිව්වා scenarios දෙකක් විතර දීලා තිබ්බා මං හිතන විදිහට. So in that I ask you to come up with the ER diagram නේද? ER diagram එක draw කරන්න කියලා කිව්වා. ඒත් එක්කම ඒක relational schema එක එකට අදාළ relational schema එකත් ලියන්න කියලා කිව්වනේ. Okay guys, hopefully you might have done it. So we'll just have a look. හරිද? එතකොට මට කියන්න දැන් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් ද ඔයාලගේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරලා පෙන්නන්න? Who can share the screen? Because now if I try to download it and everything, it would take time. Okay, Pulasti has sent me. I'll just download it and have a look. What about others? Nifal, Nadira, Musfik, Afnan, who else is there? Dilukshan, ළමයි කියන්න just wait, I'll just have a look. Pulastige answer එක බලමු අපි. Just go through that. What's the name of the answer 2.0 නේ? Okay. Let me share my screen first. Okay. So guys, I hope you can see the screen. So this is the output of Pulasti's work. Okay. So he has done the ER diagram for the tour guidance, that right? The ER diagram which I asked you to draw. So tour, okay, well done. Hotel, tour guide, customer, equipment. Okay, well done. Okay, perfect. Very good, eh? Very good, Pulasti. Who else have done? See, look at this. So those who have not done here, he have mentioned everything clearly. The cardinality, the primary key. Furthermore, if possible, you can mention about the other what attributes as well. Okay. ඔයාලට පුළුවන් නම් අනිත් attributes දැන් multi valued attribute එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒකත් පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් composite attributes, isn't it? So that can be added over here. And then තව එක දෙයක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. tour පුතා මෙතන date කියන එක විතරක් පුලස්ති මේක පොඩ්ඩක් බලා ගන්න. date එක විතරක් organize එකට තමයි එන්න ඕනේ. මම එදා කියලා දුන්න මතක තියනවාද? So දැන් මේ tour එකට විතරක් date එකක් තියලා වැඩක් නැහැ නේ පුතා. දැන් coordinator tour එක book කරන date එක තියෙනවනේ, organize කරන date එක තියෙනවනේ, නැත්නම් assign කරන date එකක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒකට එන අර relation එකට තමයි date එක එන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? ඒක date එක විතරක් ඒකට දාන්න. And නැත්නම් book date. Okay, customer will book tours. එතකොට when is the date? Okay, rather than going it for the organize, because coordinators will somehow organize it, and then a tour guide would be assigned, but the customer would book the what tours, right? So we doesn't know, like tour එකට date එකක් තියලා වැඩක් නැහැ. But when they are booking, this customer booking, what is the date, which tour? So that's how the relation can be like written. Okay, so එතකොට ඔයා මේ date එක විතරක් මෙතන දාගන්න. මම ඔයාලට පස්සේ කියලා දෙන්නම්. එහෙම අපි date එකක් relation එකට දෙම්මාම we have to have another separate table for it. Okay, relational schema separate එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. So only that has to be changed. Any other thing? DOB. Okay, now tell me, DOB is what kind of an attribute it is? මොන වගේ attribute එකක්ද ඒක? Well done. Other things are perfect. Very good. Looking great. Everything is fine. Okay. So DOB කියන එක මොන වගේ attribute එකක්ද කියලා කිව්වේ නෑනේ. Guys, any idea? DOB is what?
Derived attribute.
Very good. Derived attribute. Very, very good. You can derive one value or else another attribute from one attribute, right? So that is known as derived attribute. So DOB, if not, we can say salary, basic salary from the basic salary, like things are there, right? Okay. So in the last class, we were about to learn about the normalization, but we couldn't proceed because since we didn't at the time, we just dropped it from the normalization, not the normalization, database relational schema itself, right? So අද අපි බලන්න යන්නේ normalization කියන්නේ මොනවාද කියලා. ඒත් එක්කම we'll start to develop the what database. Okay, මම ඔයාලට SQL එක උගන්වන්නම්. ඒත් එක්කම manually කොහොමද database එකක් හදාන්න කියන එක අපි අද පටන් ගමු. So before that you have to know what is normalization පුතා. එතකොට normalization එකේ තියෙනවා there are like බලන්න මෙතන තියෙනවා up to but fourth normalization වෙනකන් විතරක් තමයි අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නෙ, but up to 6 normalization is available. Okay, but basically we will be learning up to fourth normalization. හරිද? normalization කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් relational schema එක ලියලා ඉවරුනාට පස්සේ ඒකෙන් සමහර විට සමහර දේවල් correct කරන්න තියෙනවා. Okay, so there would be things that we have to like correct. Okay, some things which has to be like reduced. Okay, single value එකක් එක් කරන වගේ එහෙමත් නැත්නම් uniquely මොනාර එකක් දාන වගේ අර rule එකක් විදිහට තමයි මේ normalization කියන එක තියෙන්නේ. Okay, it's like a rule. Okay, when it comes to database, this has to be like this. කියන එක තමයි අපි normalization එක. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතා, what we are doing is actually now assume when you are painting to your house or else if you are building a house, what you do? First thing you will be like contracting it, isn't it? And then you will be like what we say, you will be building it. After that guys, sorry guys, yeah, we had the power cut just now, it came back. Thank you for being patient. Very good. All are there, right? Okay, thank you, thank you. um so we were learning about the normalization, isn't it? Thank you, Nisha. That's how it is, right? When we are living in Sri Lanka, we have to face all these things. හරිනේ ළමයි. දැන් ඔයාට පේනවනේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක. මම ඔයාට normalization කියන්නේ මොනවද කියලා දෙන්නම්. It was there in the presentation as well. So I thought of explaining you through this website, okay? So they are in this website they have clearly mentioned what is, with some examples itself they have given. So I'll just explain what is normalization. Hari? So before that, let me get back to that presentation as well. Presentation name நான் உங்களுக்கு ஷேர் பண்றேன். அப்ப உங்களுக்கு அதுல நாங்க ரிலேஷனல் ஸ்கீமா லாஸ்ட் கிளாஸ்க்கு ඉගෙන ගත්ත දේවල් පොඩ්ඩක් මම ඔයාලට ගැප් එකක් විදිහට කරන්නම්. හරි? presentation. And I wanted to explain you about the data variables as well. Variable එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවද කියන එකත් ඔයාලට කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. And then we can move to the development. SQL එක කියලා දෙන්නම්, and then manually first we'll just design a website, not a website, sorry, database manually, and then we'll move to the SQL. Okay, මම ඔයාලට next class එකේ කියලා දෙන්නම් SQL එක කොහොමද code කරන්නේ, what are the SQL, there are like commands are there just to add data into the database, insert, there are things, okay? So I'll be teaching everything. Before that you have to know how to design all the thing neda. එතකොට දැන් වෙනකන් අපි බලාගෙන ඉන්නේ all the related stuffs to design a database, okay? So as you guys know puta, when it comes to software development or else website development or whatever it is puta, there is something known as like SDLC, isn't it? So from the beginning I was teaching you SDLC කියලා එකක්. SDLC කියලා කියන්නේ system development life cycle කියලා. So under that we can like there are things like where we gather the requirement neda, requirement gather කරනවා කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකෙන් අපි analyze කරනවා and then designing කියන එක නේද? So we are now currently working on this designing part. Okay, එතකොට designing කියන part එකේ තමයි අපි currently වැඩ කරගෙන ඉන්නේ. එතකොට දැන් ඒකට පස්සේ තමයි තව දෙයක් තියෙනවා which is known as database development. හරිද? So then we will be developing the database, exact same database. Now Pulasti and all, you have come up with these designs, right? The ER diagram is with you. ER diagram එක අපි මොනවද කරන්න ඕනේ නම් we have to do the normalization and the relational schema for that. So same, right? Same. So what? Okay, so we are having all these, we learned relations neda. Okay, so I taught you what is this general ek class diagram again. Yeah, it is in the programming class. So here we learned about the relational schema. Normalization we still didn't focus on it. Okay, before that, you know what is all these attributes කියන එක ඔයාලට දන්නවනේ attribute එක කොහමද මේ තියෙන්නේ. හරි. So I taught you what is this unary relationship and then binary relationship කියන්නේ මොනවද, ternary relation එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවද. For that I showed you few examples as well නේද. And then we learned something called entity types නේද. entity type එකේ තියෙනවා, entity type එකේ තියෙන එකක් තමයි child and parent entities කියලා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? So child entity කියන එක somehow it depends on the parent entity. Without the parent entity, no point of having the child entity neither. We cannot have somehow, isn't it? Something like that. So I'll taught you that as well, and then few examples. Was a relational schema. Relational schema එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ where you will be writing the exact same thing which you drawn in the ER diagram as this. Okay, table එකක් ඇතුලේ ලියන්නත් පුළුවන් නැත්නම් ඔයාලට නිකන් normally ලියන්නත් පුළුවන්. Okay, so then මෙතන අපි ඔයාලට මම ඔයාලට කියලා දුන්න දෙයක් තමයි relational schema එකේදී ඔයාලා relational schema එකක් ලියනකොට where you will be writing the set of attributes to the name. Okay, to the, like we can take the entity as the name of the table. හරිද? ඒත් එක්කම ඔයාලට පුළුවන් ඒකට අදාළ attribute හැම එකක්ම bracket එකේ ඇතුළේ නැත්නම් inside the boxes itself you can write something like this, isn't it? So I just explained you this thing attribute. Now for example they have given this thing method 2 එකේ දීලා තියෙනවා. So method, there are two methods as I told you. Okay, so method 1 එකේ what you can do is you will be writing the relation entity. Okay, relation එක නැත්තම් ඔයාට පුළුවන් entity name එක මෙතන එහෙමත් නැත්තම් relationship එක එහෙමත් ඒ දෙකම ලියන්න පුළුවන් මෙතන. And then whatever that is related to that particular relation, okay, but that particular entity could be written inside the brackets. So that is one way. Okay, ඒ කියන්නේ employee කියන entity එකට employee name කියන number කියලා primary key එකක් තියෙනවා, ඒත් එකම employee name කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා, age තියෙනවා, NIC තියෙනවා, phone number, likewise blah blah blah, all the things can be added into that particular bracket. Okay, එතකොට employee කියන කෙනා තමයි employee කියන කෙනාගේ details තමයි මේ ඔක්කොම. So we came up with the design, right? ER diagram කියලා කියන්නේ it has these shapes and other stuff where we can graphically identify the things. But when it comes to relational schema, having those graphical relation, those ER diagram, okay, the diagram, graphical diagram, we will be converting it into something where mostly we will be writing it down textually. Okay, ඒ කියන්නේ අපි මෙතන ලියනවා. හරිද? අපි මෙතන draw කරගෙන එහෙම ඉන්න අපිට structure එක තියෙනවා. Having the structure, we know what are the things, what are the attributes which is related to this entity. So then we can easily write it down in a paper. Okay, එහෙම තියෙන එක මේක මේ විදියට ලියන්නත් පුළුවන්. If not, there's another way where you can draw a kind of a table, and inside those columns or else cells you can enter the values. Okay, ඔයාලට මෙහෙම cells වගේ කියන්නේ you can just create a table kind of thing. ඒකෙන් ඔයාලට මේ වගේ cells ටිකක් add කරන්න පුළුවන්. Inside each of these cells you can add the attributes. That is also can be done. Both are same, but okay, මේකත් relational schema එකක් තමයි. මේකත් දෙකම එකම දේ, but we can do it in two ways. Okay, either we can write it down in between the braces, if not you can write all the attributes inside the table cells. Okay, so that is there are two ways to do that. Then බලන්න මෙතනත් ඒකම තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Employee number, employee name, age, NIC, all these things has been written inside the table. So that is there. And then අපි මේ ඔක්කොම බැලුවනේ. Well structured relation, those things, normalization. So normalization negedi, we were learning about this functional dependency. I taught you about functional dependency and then non-functional dependency. So for an example, for a relation R, okay, relation R, R relation. So then attribute B is fully functional dependent on attribute A. Okay, ඒ කියන්නේ මේ B කියන මේ attribute එක fully functionally depend වෙනවලු මේ A කියන attribute එකේ. That means no point, like we cannot have this B without this. Understood? ඒ කියන්නේ it's fully dependent. Partially එහෙමත් නැත්නම් non function dependent, no, nothing. It's fully depending. It's him. ඒ කියන්නේ මම ඔයාලට example එකක් පෙන්නන්නම්. So then මේක මේ B කියන එක මෙයා නැතුව තියාගන්න බෑ. Okay, we cannot have this B just without the A attribute. Okay, so for every valid instance of A, that value of A uniquely determined value of B. The functional dependency B on A is represented by an arrow. Okay, so ඔයාලට පුළුවන් දැන් මේ A කියන කෙනා, it's B කියන කෙනා, it's fully dependent on A. So we'll just have a look on this. Look at this. So there is බලන්න then student කියන relation එක. Okay, assume you can take this as the what we can say entity name. හරිද? student කියලා name එකක් තියනවා කියලා තන entity එකක් තියනවා. Student number, student name, address. So all these things have been given. So ඔයාලට කියන්න පුළුවන් දැන් මේ student number කියන එක, okay, student number කියන එක, it's now both the name and the address are fully functionally depending on this student number. Okay, it depends on this. Okay, we can just have the name and the address, but sometimes with the same name and the address there could be another person, right? එතකොට මේ දෙකම fully functional depend වෙනවා නම් එක student ගේ number එකකින් ඒකට අපි කියනවා මේ වගේ first normalization එකේ ඒ වගේ එකක් තමයි අපි කරන්නේ. Okay, both the dependents, these two attributes will be fully depending on the first entity, not the entity, attribute. Okay, an attribute may functionally depend on two or more attributes rather than a single attribute. Okay, එතකොට not only like this attribute is not only depending, it couldn't depend on one particular attribute, but instead of one attribute it could be depend on more than two, or else two or more than two attributes. Okay, මම ඔයාලට examples ටිකක් පෙන්නන්න under that in that website, then you will clearly understand. For now just have a look over here. Okay, then මෙතන තියෙනවා follow කියලා entity එකක්, එමත් නැත්නම් relation එකක්. then මෙතන තියෙනවා student number, course code, එහෙම තියාගමු. then මේ marks එක without, now assume that we are having only the marks. Okay, someone's marks is there. හරිද? ඒ marks එක තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා, but we doesn't have the student number. Okay, course code එක තියෙනවා කියලා හිතන්න. Okay, then හිතමුකෝ then Pulasti is following this database designing and modifying this course. එතකොට course code එක තියෙනවා. course code එක අපි කියමුකෝ, for an example I'll say that the course code is 002. சரியா? 002 ன்னு சொல்றது தான் course code ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். then එයාගේ mark එක තියෙනවා අංගාව, which is we will say 75 කියලා තියනවා කියලා හිතමුකෝ. එයාගේ grade එක distinction කියලා දීලා තියනවා කියලා හිතන්න. But still we don't have the student number. So is there is a point of having both the marks and grade? මේ course එකේ එක ළමයෙක් ඉන්නවලු, එයාගේ marks එක 75, එයාගේ grade එක distinction බලන්නකෝ ඒත් කවුද කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි අපිට කියන්න වෙන්නේ නේද? So definitely we have to have the student number as well. Then only there is a no point. If not, we having the marks and the grade is no point, isn't it? Then hitamu course code එක නැහැ කියලා. Okay, assume that there is no course code but student number is there and we are having the marks. එයා student කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා, පුලස්ති කියන කෙනා තමයි එයා. එයාගේ marks එක මේක, එයාගේ grade එක මේක. but මොන course එකටද මෙයාට මේ marks එකක් grade එකක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ කියන එක දන්නේ නැහැ. Okay, we doesn't know for which course or which subject he have taken this marks and the grade. So no point, isn't it? So that means sometimes one particular attribute could be dependent on two or more than two attributes. If not, two particular attributes could be dependent on two or more than two attributes. That is known as fully functional dependency. So that is the first normalization. මේක තේරුණාද? attribute එකක් තව attribute එකේ depend වෙලා ඉන්නවා. හරිද? ඒක නැතුව මේකෙන් වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒ වගේ එකක්. මේක clear ද පුතා? ළමයින් කියන්න බලන්න. This is clear? Okay, that last class also. Okay, நான் சொல்றேன். Last class also I explained it to you. Wait, I'll explain it. Speak. என்னன்னு சொன்ன விஷயம் என்னண்டா, இப்ப ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நார்மலைசேஷன்ல என்ன நடக்கும்னு சொன்னா முஸ்பீக், சரியா? ஒரு இப்ப நாங்க இப்ப என்டிட்டிஸ் எல்லாம் இப்ப நாங்க ER டயக்ராமோட வரைவோம். சரி, அப்ப இந்த ER டயக்ராம்ல என்ன இருக்கும்? என்டிட்டிஸ் ஈக்கும், அந்த என்டிட்டிஸ்க்கு அட்ரிபியூட்ஸ் ஈக்கும், ரிலேஷன் ஈக்கும், இதெல்லாம் தான் ஒரு என்டிட்டி ரிலேஷன் டயக்ராம்ல ஈக்கும். இப்ப நாங்க அடுத்த ஸ்டெப்ல வர்றது வந்து ரிலேஷனல் ஸ்கீமா. அது உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். இப்பதானே நான் கொஞ்சத்துக்கு முன்னே சொல்லி தந்தேன். என்னது? அந்த என்டிட்டியோட ரிலேஷன் நேம் போட்டு அதுக்கு போறோம் இதுதான் அட்ரிபியூட், ஸ்டூடெண்ட் நேம், ஸ்டூடெண்ட் நம்பர், ஸ்டூடெண்ட் அட்ரஸ் அப்படி எல்லாம் வரும். அதுக்கு போறோம் எங்களுக்கு என்ன அப்படி சொன்னா இந்த நார்மலைசேஷன் சொல்றது ரிலேஷனல் ஸ்கீமா வச்சுக்கொண்டு வேலை இல்ல சரியா. அதுக்கு முன்னுக்கு நாங்க இந்த நார்மலைசேஷன் நீக்குதா, நார்மலைசேஷன் வந்து சும்மா அது ஒன்றும் இல்ல, நாங்க சும்மா செக் பண்ணுவோம் நார்மலைசேஷன் பண்ணப்பட்டிக்குதா சும்மா இது வந்து கவர் பண்ணப்பட்டிக்குதா அந்த மாதிரி. ஓகே, சோ இப்ப இன்னைக்கு எக்ஸாம்பிள் வந்து தந்திக்கிறாங்க பாருங்க. ஒரு ஃபெலோன்னு சொல்லி ஒரு ஒரு கோர்ஸ் ஃபெலோ பண்ற ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் இப்ப அந்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வில் ஃபெலோ கோர்ஸ் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி இருக்கும் தானே. அப்ப இந்த ஃபெலோன்னு சொல்றதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு அட்ரிபியூட் அந்த அந்த ரிலேஷனை வச்சு வந்து என்ன செஞ்சிடறாங்கன்னு சொன்னா ஒரு ஃபுல் ரிலேஷனல் ஸ்கீமாவே ரைட் பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க. இந்த பர்டிகுலர் ஸ்டூடெண்ட் இந்த பர்டிகுலர் கோர்ஸை ஃபாலோ பண்றாங்க, அவங்களோட மார்க்ஸ் இது, அவங்களோட கிரேட் இது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. அப்ப இப்ப உங்களோட பேரை போட்டு இல்லாட்டி உங்களோட நம்பரை போட்டு நீங்க ஃபாலோ பண்றீங்க டேட்டாபேஸ் அண்ட் டிசைனிங் கோர்ஸ், அண்ட் உங்களுக்கு வந்து மார்க்ஸும் கிரேடும் வந்து இந்த மார்க்ஸ் அண்ட் கிரேடும் தான் உங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சிக்கின்னு சொல்லி வந்தீங்க. ஓகே, எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்கு நான் சொல்றேன். அப்ப இப்ப இதுல ஃபுல்லி ஃபங்க்ஷனல் டிபெண்டன்சின்னு சொன்னா புத்தா இப்ப நாங்க ஸ்டூடெண்ட் நம்பரை மட்டும் வச்சுக்கொண்டிரோம், கோர்ஸ் கோட் அவனுக்கு இல்லைன்னு நினைங்க. அப்ப ஸ்டூடெண்ட் நம்பர் வந்து இது, அவரோட மார்க்ஸ் இது, அவரோட கிரேட் இதுன்னு சொல்றோம். ஆனா எந்த கோர்ஸுக்கு இல்லாட்டி எந்த சப்ஜெக்டுக்குன்றதே இல்லாம இருக்குது. அப்ப வேலைக்கு தாங்கண்ணே இல்ல. அதே மாதிரி கோர்ஸ் கோட் ஒண்டிக்குது, இந்த டேட்டாபேஸ் டிசைனிங் கோர்ஸ்க்கு ஒரு பொடியன் வாரான், ஆனா அந்த பொடியன் மார்க்ஸும் கிரேடும் இது, ஆனா அவரோட பேர் தெரியா இல்லாட்டி அவரோட நம்பர் தெரியா, அப்ப வேலைக்குதா இல்லைனா. சோ இதுக்கு நாங்க சொல்லுவோம் ஃபுல்லி ஃபங்க்ஷன் டிபெண்டன்சி. இது ரெண்டுமே வந்து இது ரெண்டுலயுமே ஃபுல்லாவே வந்து டிபெண்ட் ஆகிக்குது. விளங்கிச்சா? இந்த ரெண்டு அட்ரிபியூட்ஸுமே வந்து இந்த ரெண்டு அட்ரிபியூட்ஸ் மேல மார்க்ஸ் அண்ட் கிரேட் வந்து ஸ்டூடெண்ட் நம்பர் கோர்ஸ் கோட் இந்த ரெண்டுலயுமே வந்து ஃபுல்லி ஃபங்க்ஷனலி டிபெண்ட் ஆகிக்கிறதுக்கு தான் நாங்க சொல்லுவோம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நார்மலைசேஷன் சொல்லி. கிளியரா இது முஸ்ஃபிக்? தேர்னாதலாமா இன்னும் ஆளட்ட marks and grade එක හරි marks and grade එක fully functionally depend වෙනවා on student number and course code. ඒක නැතුව මේකෙන් වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒක තමයි ඒක. Okay, partial dependency කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවද කියලා බලමු. A partial dependency means a non-key attribute is depending on a part of a key attribute. Non-key attribute. Okay, non-key attribute depending on a key attribute. ඒ කියන්නේ according to this table, this is the key attribute. Primary key attribute එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මොන එකටද? Primary key attribute එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ to the like there would be a primary key attribute, right? So here puta we are having a primary key attribute. Okay, 001 කියන එක තමයි මේ first student number එක. So මෙතන බලන්න key attribute මේ දෙකම වෙන වෙන table එකේ තියෙන වෙන වෙන key attributes. Okay, now student number කියන එක student table එකේ තියපු එකක්, course code කියන එක course detail කියන table එකේ තියපු එකක්. හරිද? But here we are taking both the like unique keys from the other table and we are merging both the unique key into one and we have created another separate table. Okay, so we can easily identify. Now no point of having 001 separately and like having the course code separately. So if we merge all the data together only we can gather an information about a person. Okay, student කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා 001 කියන එක තමයි එයාගේ ID එක and he or she is following ACS this course and the marks of her is his is this and then the grade is this and the name of the student is Amal. Okay, and then the same number but instead of the same course code another course code. It is not redundant thing. Okay, repeat with nane metana because somehow this unique key is different. තේරුණාද? මේ දෙකම එක වුණාට this is different. Okay, so එයා තව course එකක් follow කරනවා and then for that course the marks and the grade is this and the name is this. Okay, so there is another student but same course නේද? බලන්න මේක redundant වෙනවා but here the unique key of the student number is different. Okay, so this is how මේක partially dependence කියලා අපි කියනවා. හරිද? ඒ වගේම තියෙනවා okay, here student name is partially depending on student number. Okay, so in the above example the primary key is combination of student number course code. The non-key attributes are marks, grade and fully functional depending on the complete key attributes. ඒක දන්නවනේ grade and marks it's fully functionally depending on the course number, course code, and then the student number. ඒක අපි මුලින්ම ඉගෙන ගත්තා. அது நாங்க first එකේ பார்த்தோம். மார்க்ஸும் கிரேடும் வந்து fully functionally depend ஆகுது இது ரெண்டுக்கு மேல. But student name, is it fully functionally depending on both the primary key? No. It is partially depending on only student number. එතකොට partial dependency. No point of depending on course code නේද? Student number මෙයාගේ නම තමයි මේක. එතකොට it's partially depending only on one particular primary key attribute එකේ partially depend වෙන partial dependence කියලා කියන්නේ only on one particular key attribute it is depending. Okay. එතකොට මේ name කියන එක it's partially depend on the key attribute. So here transitive dependency, the third normalization. Okay, depending on other non-key attribute in relation. Non-key attribute එකේ relate depend වෙන එකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ transitive dependency කියලා. හරිද? දැන් බලන්න මෙතන තියෙන book number. So this is the primary key and then C. This is another primary key. Now from another table, the primary key of another table has been taken here. හරිද? එතකොට non key attribute එකක්. දැන් මේක තමයි key attribute එකක්. හරිද? So this is a non key attribute. So the student name is depending on what? Student number. එතකොට මේක non key attribute එකක්. අමල් කියන මේ value එක මේකෙන් depend වෙනවා. Okay, no need to like bother much about this. හරිද? ඔයාලා normalization කියන්නේ මොනවාද කියන එක විතරක් understand කරගත්තා නම් ඇති. Okay, so when you are doing your higher studies or when you are working in an environment, they won't ask you to like tell me what is this transitive dependency and other stuff. You have to just check. Okay, මේක බලන්න dependence වෙලා තියෙන එක තමයි මෙතන explain කරන එක විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. Okay, so it is depending. Okay, somehow when you are like writing the relational schema or else even though when you are creating the database, you would just understand. Okay, මේක partial dependency එකක් නේද? මේක fully functional dependency එකක් නේද? මේක transitive dependency එකක් නේද? එහෙම කියලා ඔයාලට understand කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Now see, book number is the primary key පුතා. Now book name is depending on book one key, book number, primary key, this attribute. Author is depending on this. But is student name is depending on book number? මොනාරි ඒකෙන් වැඩක් තියනවද? අපිට පුළුවන් ද මේ student name කියන attribute එක dependent කරන්න මේකෙන්? Can't, right? So it is depending on student number, only on the student number. එතකොට ඒකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ transitive dependency කියලා. මේ වගේ එකක්. බලන්න. Student number එකේ තමයි student name එක dependent වෙන්නේ. But student number is depending on book number because this book number has been taken from this particular student number. The name of the student is this. එතකොට student name is depending on student number, but the student number is depending on the book number. මේ student අරන් තියනවා කියලා. දැන් අපි අමල් කියලා දෙක අර නම දෙකම අපිට දාන්න බෑනේ. To this book, the book has been taken from these student කියලා. Maybe there could be two person with the same name, isn't it? So transitive dependency කියලා කියන්නේ where a attribute would dependent on non-key attribute. Okay, on a non-key attribute. Okay, මේක non-key attribute එකක් නේ. Student number කියන්නේ non-key attribute එකක්. මලංගිච්චා. ஒரு attribute வந்து அதுல இருக்கிற key attributeல depend ஆகாம ஒரு non-key attributeல depend ஆகுதுன்னு சொன்னா அதுக்கு நாங்க சொல்லுவோம் transitive dependency කියලා. Third normalization කියන්නේ ඒකට තමයි. හරිද? Okay. Repeating group. Okay, then මේ ඔක්කොම repeating, you know, normalization is fine. Composite key, you know that composite key කියන්නේ මොනවද කියලා. Okay, for an example, they have given an example over here. Okay, මේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මම ඔයාලට මේක theoretically කියලා දෙන්නම්. Okay, theory එකක් විදිහට කියලා දෙන්නම්. So we just went through few examples නේ. Now see, first normalization කියලා කියන්නේ every attribute of the relation should be atomic. Okay, ඒ කියන්නේ no repeating groups. Repeat වෙන්න බෑ. හරිද? ඒක automatically ඒ relation එකේ තියෙන attributes හැම එකක්ම repeat වෙන්න බෑ. Okay, only once could be there. The second normalization is, first normalization has to be happened. Okay, it has to be applied. At the same time, every non-primary attribute should be fully functionally depend on the primary key. ඒ කියන්නේ all the attributes. Okay, non-functional primary keys කියලා කියන්නේ primary key කියන්නේ then student number කියලා තියෙනවා කියලා කියමුකෝ. Student name has to be fully functionally depend on student number. Student address fully functionally depend on student number. All the other attributes should fully functionally depend on that particular primary key attribute. Okay, ඒකට අපි කියනවා second normalization කියලා. Third normalization එකේ second normalization එක වෙලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ. It has to be happen. Okay, second ඒ කියන්නේ fully functional dependence තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම no non prime attribute is transitive dependent on the primary key. Okay, ඒ කියන්නේ transitive dependency. ඒ කියන්නේ non primary key එකක් නැතුව තියෙන එකක්. හරිද? ඒකට transitive dependency කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවාද? So student number කියන book details එකේදී book number you will be having book author details all these things, right? So student number කියන එකේ student name dependency එකටනේ අපි කිව්ව transitive dependency කියලා. So another non-functional dependent non-unique. Okay, so we can say like unique key එකක් නැතුව තියෙන key එකට, හරිද? So like this is what they are saying. Here is it. This is the student name. Okay, okay, so then what it is now this is not a key attribute. Non-key attribute එකේ another normal attribute is being dependent. That is what is transitive dependency. So that is third normalization. So simple as that. Okay, I hope it is clear. And then make a anit the normalizations that is not needed. Okay, up to third normalization now, for now it is enough. If we just try to understand all the other normalizations, it would confuse you. So I'll just minimize this and let's get back here. Seeing අපි මෙතන බලමු. ඔයාලට දැන් composite key කියන්නේ මොනවද? අනිත් දේවල් ඔක්කොම දන්නවනේ. You know all the other stuffs, right? So here they have given with few examples. So the first normalization example. So all these attributes are fully functionally depending on the first attribute. Okay, එමත් නැත්නම් මෙතන key attribute එකක් නැහැනේ. key attribute එකයි key attribute එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒකට depend වෙන එකක් තමයි first normalization කියන එක. හරිද? So then key attribute, after using the key attribute, so here they have not given a proper here they are explaining about the foreign keys and everything. Okay, so here it shows when it is first normalized puta, first normalization you will be having one single table. But when it comes to second normalization, this particular membership ID has been movie rented කියන එක දීලා තියෙනවනේ. So we can derive that when we can create another particular table. So that is known as second normalization, because this is partially depending on what? The key attribute. Okay, ඒකනේ අපි primary මේ මොනවාද second normalization කියලා දුන්නේ මම ඔයාලට, partially depending. So the third is transitive dependence, like this. Okay, transitive dependence කියලා කියන්නේ බලන්න මෙතන membership ID, it has this full name, physical address, okay, and then solution ID කියලා තව එකක් තියෙනවා. Membership ID have this movie rented, like it can have this thing, but solution ID එකට solution එක තමයි අපි දෙන්න ඕනේ. Okay, solution එක තමයි අපි මෙතන add කරන්න ඕනේ. Okay, so we cannot have it over here. So all this comes under one table, but we have derived it and created it as separate 2-3 tables. Okay, එතකොට මේකට අපි කියනවා third normalization කියලා. මේක තේරුණාද ඔයාලට? third normalization වෙනකන් ඔයාලට තේරුණාද? Just keep it in your mind. අපි දැන් draw කරලා තියෙන අර මේක තියෙනව නේද? But we have created this I'll show you this as well. The ER diagram is with us, right? So for the ER diagram, we'll come up with the relational schema and then we'll check whether there is any first normalization has to be done or second normalization has to be done or the third normalization has to be done. If all the thing is not like if it is has to be done, then we have to do it. කියන්නේ මේ fully dependency වෙනවා නම් අපි තව relational schema එකක් හදා ගන්න වෙනවා. හරිද? ඒත් එක්කම අපි බලමු ඒකෙන් එහෙම මොකුත් නැත්නම් we can continue with other stuffs, we can develop it. Okay, so before that I just wanted to explain you about the variables. Then අපි database එක හදන්න කලින් you have to know something called variable. හරිද? So in the next class what we'll be doing is අපි last class එකේ engineering department මොනාරි ඒ වගේ එකක් හැදුවා නේද? Can you remember? We just created a ER diagram for the engineering department or something, isn't it? If not for the tour. Now last week I gave you a homework, right? ඒකට දැන් ER diagram එක තියෙනවානේ. So we'll come up with the normalization. So we will be doing it. Okay, now itself if we had time we'll do that. Okay, normalization මේ relational schema එක ලියාගමු. And then normalizations මොනාරි කරන්න තියෙනවද කියලා බලමු. And then we'll develop it. So before that you have to know one thing which is known as variables. Okay, variable කියන්නේ මොනවාද කියලා කිව්වොත් it's a memory location which temporarily stored the data that can be changed during the execution of the program. That means where you will be allocating a particular location in your RAM. Okay, RAM එකේ ඔයාලා location එකක් allocate කරලා දෙනවා. Then ඔයා හිතන්නකෝ ඔයා when you are like traveling in the bus or somewhere, one of your friend is calling and asking you to allocate like මචං මං එනකන් මේ sheet එකක් අරන් තියාගන්න කියලා. So you are allocating that particular space for your friend, isn't it? Something like that. So when it comes to memory location, like when it comes to the RAM, it has these memory locations, right? So the variable takes one particular location temporarily, not permanently. Temporarily it will take, and then it will store a data in that temporary location. Okay, එතකොට එතන store කරලා තියෙනවා execution එකේදී එතන වෙන data එකක් ඇවිත් අපිට store කරන්න ඕනේ නම් we can change it as well. என்னன்னு சொன்னா variable னு சொன்னா இப்போ நீங்க என்ன செய்வீங்கன்னு சொன்னா இப்போ நான் சும்மா சொல்றேன், நீங்க பஸ்ல பேத்தி கொண்டிருக்கீங்க, அப்ப அவங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட் ஒன்று கால் பண்ணி சொல்ல அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு ஷீட் ஒன்று அவருக்கு வந்து புக் வச்சுக்கொள்ள சொல்லி, சரி அது பிடிச்சி வச்சுக்கோங்க அந்த லொகேஷன் நான் அடுத்த ஸ்டாண்ட்ல ஏறுவேன். ஸோ நீங்க என்ன செய்றீங்கன்னு சொன்னா அந்த சீட்ல வந்து பிடிச்சி வச்சுக்கொண்டிருக்கோள்ள ஒரு இன்னொரு ஃப்ரெண்ட் ஒன்னு சொன்னா நான் இப்போ வந்து உட்காந்து கொள்ள நான் உங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட் வந்து மாத்திக்கொள்வோம். ஸோ நீங்க அந்த லொகேஷனை கொடுக்குறீங்க அந்த ஃப்ரெண்டுக்கு. அப்ப அன்னைக்கு ஒரு டேட்டா வந்து ஸ்டோர் ஆகுது. ஏன்னா அப்ப அவங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட் ஒன்று வந்து உட்காராண்ட அது ஸ்டோர் ஆகுது. அப்ப இப்ப உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சி வச்சுக்கொள்ள சொன்ன ஃப்ரெண்டு ஹோல்ட் வந்தோடனே அப்ப இவர் எழும்பிட்டு அவர் வந்து அன்னைக்கு உட்கார்றாரு. அப்ப the data is being changed. Can you understand the example? That means now as I told you Putha, now you are like allocating that particular space for your friend, this seat next to you. Then one of your close friend is coming, Machang, okay, until he reaches, okay, he still his hold didn't come, right? So until then I'll sit there, and then once he get into the bus, then I'll get up. Okay, so that is what your friend is telling. Then what you are saying is, okay Machang, you can come and sit here, you can be here Kela. Then what will happen is you are giving the location, you are giving that storage to another person. Then the data, one data is coming in storing there, isn't it? When the hold comes, then the person who called you and asked you to allocate a place is getting into the bus. Then the data which is sitting already in this seat will get up. තේරුණාද? දැන් එතකොට ඔයාගේ අර හොඳම යාළුවා මෙතනින් නැගිටිනවා. එතකොට අර හෝල්ට් එකේ නැගපු කෙනා ආයෙත් එතනට ඇවිල්ලා ස්ටෝර් වෙනවා. So this memory location variable එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ you can store whatever you want by the time. It could be during the execution, it could be changed as well. Okay, ඔයාට ඕන කෙනෙක් එතන එක්කෙනෙක්ව තමයි එතන අර කියපු කෙනා විතරක් තමයි ඉන්න පුළුවන් කියලා නෑ. Okay, we can change the data as well during the execution. Okay, so එතකොට දැන් වෙන කෙනෙක් ආව කියලා කියමුකෝ, දැන් pregnant woman කෙනෙක් නැග්ගා කියලා කියමුකෝ බස් එකට. එතකොට ඔයාගේ යාළුවා අර හෝල්ට් එකේ නැගපු කෙනා එයා ටක් ගාලා නැගිටලා අර pregnant woman එයාට දෙනවා. So the data is being changed. Okay, while during the execution the data won't be the same, but the same location could store many datas. Okay, කියන්නේ not at the same time it won't store all the data. එකම seat එක එකපාරටම ඔක්කොම ඉඳ ගන්න බෑ. We can't like sit right at once itself, but it is changing while to while it could change. Understood? So that is known as variables. Okay, a memory location could be created and then temporarily stores, like it could be data could be stored in that particular location, and also it could be changed during the execution. Here for few examples has been given. So balanna oya variable එකක් හදනකොට this is how you have to create it. You first of all you have to give the type puta. Okay, so the type of the seat is this. අපි කියනවනේ මෙතන pregnant women විතරක් තමයි they only can sit, okay, seated. And then there could be some other seats where only the children can sit, likewise, isn't it? So එතකොට ඒ වගේ දේවල් වලට අපි කියනවා type කියලා, data type. Okay, so when it comes to real time programming or real time data creation, you have to know each and every data has its own data type, isn't it? Integer, float, vacha, char. Okay, likewise there are types, string, isn't it? So all these are known as data types. So first thing you have to understand is the data type, and you have to say only this data type can seated over here. Okay, this data type can be stored over here. එතකොට age කියන මේ data එක store කරන්න ඕනේ මේ data type තියෙන තැනෙම තමයි. Okay, we can't store the date age in a string කියලා දීලා අපිට එතන store කරන්න පුළුවන් the date age එක. No. And also, but we cannot insert our name in the integer data location. Okay, integer කියන්නේ integers විතරක් තමයි මෙතන store කරන්න පුළුවන්. Only integer data could be stored there in that particular place. Okay, and then final variables, this has to be taught to you when it comes to primitive references. Okay, here primitive data types. Okay, so data type එකෙන්ම තියෙනවා primitive data types, references data types කියලා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. The data types of variable determines the legal range of values it may contain. Okay, what operation should be applied to it, and then how such operation has to be performed. So then ඒක මම කිව්වේ මොන වගේ data type එකක්ද මේකෙන් store කරන්න පුළුවන්, ඒ වගේම මේක මොන වගේ operation එකකටද පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක තමයි මේ data type එකෙන් අපි මුලින්ම අඳුනව ගන්න ඕන දෙයක්. හරිද? So there are some kind of primitive data types. Primitive data type එකේ තියෙනවා byte, short, integer, long, float, double, boolean, char මේ වගේ තියෙනවා. හරිද? So මේකට අපි කියනවා primitive data types කියලා. So when it comes to primitive data type එකේ byte, short, int, long කියන එක මේවා integral data types කියලා කියනවා. That means we can store like numbers. Okay, only integer kind of number. ඒ කියන්නේ single value number. Byte එකේදී we can have like 100, 200, things like that. Short එකේත් ඒ වගේ තමයි. Integer එකේත් ඒ වගේ තමයි. Long එකේත් ඒ වගේ තමයි. But when it comes to float and double, it's not the same. Floating එකේදී we can have decimal values. Okay, so මේ හැම data type එකකටම අපි කියනවා numeric data type කියලා, because since we can only insert numbers, these data types are known as numeric data type. Better to take it down. Okay, මේකට අපි කියනවා numeric data type කියලා. තේරුණාද? එතකොට even in byte we can have what? Only numbers. Even in short we can have only numbers. Integer එකෙත් numbers විතරයි. We can't insert any letters. integer කියලා තියලා තැනදී ඔයාගේ phone number එක මෙතන input එකක් විදිහට දෙන්න. එහෙමත් නැත්නම් අහනවා assume that they are asking you to insert your age. Instead of the age you can't type your name. Understood? තේරුණාද? එතකොට ඔයාට බෑ numeric data type කරන්න ඕන තැනදී you can't type the string data. Okay, you can't type any letters over there. So these data types are known as numeric data types. Even in numeric data type, there are two types of data types, which where in double and float, where you can have decimal values. Decimal value to sonna theriyum thane. Point form like assume 100.956 එහෙම තියෙනවා point value එක. Okay, decimal value එක. Okay, ඒ වගේ data store කරන්න පුළුවන් data types දෙකක් තමයි මේ float and double කියන එක. But long integers, then හිතන්නකෝ ඔයාගේ age එක කවුරු හරි අහනවා what is your age කියලා. Okay, some යාරාච් මන්දන් වලට උඹේ age එන්නන්නේ කේකරංග. You won't tell that my age is 20.12 කියලා නේද? You would say it's 20, 21 like that, isn't it? So something like that. So integer data කියලා කියන්නේ integral data types කියලා කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ data වලට. You can't say that decimal value. Okay, but when it comes to float data type, the area of the circle, the area of the rectangle, all this comes under float n double data type because it contains point values, isn't it? Average of a student, isn't it? And when it comes to Boolean data type, Boolean එක yes or no, true or false. ඒ වගේ එකක් තමයි Boolean කියන එක. මේ තියෙන්නේ true or false. Okay, represent a logical quantity. So true or false ඒ වගේ දෙකක් තියෙනවා එකකින් එකක්. ඒ වගේ එකක්. Yes or no ඒ වගේ. Now when you are inserting your like assume that you are in a ATM machine. Okay, you are standing in front of an ATM machine and then you will be inserting the card. Then what you do is you will be entering a number, pin number නේද? එතකොට එතනින් මොනවාද වෙන්නේ? Boolean check එකක් තමයි වෙන්නේ. Yes, true ද false ද? ඔයා type කරපු මේ අර pin number එක true ද false ද? ඒක තමයි වෙන්නේ. එතකොට Boolean test එකක් තමයි එතන වෙන්නේ. Understood? So Boolean value is known as a representation of a logical quantity. That means it just yes or no, true or false, 0 or 1, like that. Okay, and when it comes to char, okay, charactered data type. Okay, එහෙමත් නැත්නම් charted char කියන data type එක characters වලට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ. Okay, so charactered data type එකට අපි කියන්න පුළුවන් used to store Unicode characters value. ඒ කියන්නේ it could be whatever it is. It could be number. Now address comes under characters, right? ඒකෙදි තියෙනවා symbols තියෙනවා, you will be having symbols, at the same time letters, you'll be having numbers, space, isn't it? All the things could be stored in a character. Char data type එකේ ඔක්කොම තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, you can have whatever the data you want in a character data type. Okay, so ඒකෙදි A කියලා විතරක් දෙමොතින් ඒකත් data character data එකක්. Question mark කියන්නේ ඒක symbol එකක්. So that is also a data. We can't insert question mark or a comma or else like hashtag or whatever the data in an integer data or as a boolean or any other data types. It can come under only character data type. තේරුණාද? char කියන data type එකේ විතරක් තමයි අපිට මේ වගේ address ඔක්කොම දේවල් එහෙම insert කරන්න පුළුවන්. So හැම data එකටම කියලා ඒකටම කියන අර data type එකක් තියෙනවා කියන එක ඔයාලා understand කරගන්න. So here they have given few examples. So the data type byte එකට 8 bit. Okay, it can contain only 8 bit. 8 bit කියලා කියන්නේ පුතා 8 values number. Then 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 ඒකට තමයි අපි bit කියලා කියන්නේ 8 bits තමයි එතන අපිට store කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට දැන් ඔයා data type එක byte කියලා දෙනව නම් ඔයාලා හිතා ගන්න ඕනේ දැන් ඔයාට බෑ phone number එකට byte කියන data type එක දෙන්න. Why is that? Tell me, why is that පුතා? Why can't you give byte data type for the phone number? කියන්න බලන්න. Any idea? ஏன்னு சொல்லுங்க பாக்க ஏதாச்சும் ஐடியாஸ் இருக்கா? எங்களுக்கு சொல்லல ஃபோன் நம்பர்னு சொல்ற இந்த ஃபீல்ட்ல இருந்து நீங்க ஃபோன் நம்பர்னு சொல்ற இந்த ஃபீல்டுக்கு நான் பைட்னு சொல்ற டேட்டா டைப்பை கொடுத்திக்கிறேன். இப்போ இதுல வந்து நீங்க ஃபோன் நம்பரை டைப் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்லி எங்களுக்கு சொல்லல. Why is that? Because puta phone number contains how many digit? Yeah, it's 0 to 9, right? So then almost 10 digits, isn't it? So we can't have it because byte value, it contains only 8 bit. එතකොට එතනින් numbers දෙකක් නැති වෙයි නේද? එතකොට අපිට කියන්න බෑ byte data type එකේ ඔයාට ඔයාගේ phone number එක දෙන්න කියලා input එකක් insert කරන්න කියලා කියන්න බෑ. So it could be like this. Minus value එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Minus 128 ඒ වගේ ඔයාට add කරන්න පුළුවන්. If not plus value එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Minus plus value එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට අපි කියනවා byte data type කියලා. Okay? So මේකත් integral data type එකයි as I taught you. Okay? So it is just it cannot have any point values in it. And when it comes to short එකේදී නම් 16 bit නම් 1 2 3 4 5 6 කියලා අර 16 වෙනකන් bits value එක අපිට store කරන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, so ඒකෙන් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් මේ වගේ minus value එකක් එමත් නැත්නම් plus value එකක් ඔයාලට දෙන්න. ඒ වගේම තියෙනවා integer data type එක. Okay, integer data type එකේදී here you can store 32 bit. එතකොට 32 bit කියලා කියන්නේ it's really long length, isn't it? So here they have given you that you can store from minus some value, okay, 21747. So from that value to 2147 value වෙනකන් ඔයාට store කරන්න පුළුවන් data. Sometimes if it is more than that, okay, එතකොට තියෙනවා 64 bit 64 bit එකේ තියෙන data type එකක් තමයි long කියන data type එක. ඒකෙන් ඔයාට minus මේ value එකෙන් ඉඳලා බලන්න ලොකු length එකක් නේද ඒක නම්. ඒකෙන් ඉඳලා 900 and මොනාරි 9 not 900, it's something like trillion billion ඒකට වඩා වැඩි නේද. So minus value එකෙන් ඉඳලා plus value වෙනකන් ඔයාට store කරන්න පුළුවන්. So there is no any range, like කොහොමටත් අපිට ඕන තරම් එතන data store කරන්න පුළුවන් if it is 64 bit නේද. And when it comes to float, it's 32 bit. ඒ කියන්නේ from 1.2e make a this decimal value, okay, ඔයාලට දීලා තියෙන decimal value 1.2 එකෙන් e එකෙන් ඉඳලා 38 වෙනකන්, ඒ වගේම 3.4 එකෙන් ඉඳලා 3.38 වෙනකන් ඔයාලට decimal placement කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඒ වගේම දීලා තියෙනවා double කියන data value එක මේ data type එකේදී 64 bits ඔයාලට insert කරන්න පුළුවන්ලු. Okay, so that is a really length value, that's why they have given e කියන value එක දීලා තියෙනවා. It can be like continue, okay, continuously you can just it continues. ලොකු length එකේ තියෙන value එකක් එතන continue වෙනවා. So මෙතනෙන් ඔයාට පුළුවන් 308 වෙනකන් ඔයාට ඕන decimal value එකක් add කරන්න. So it could be really length, isn't it? Length value එකක් ඔයාට ඕන තරම් මෙහෙම අර මේක වැඩි වෙවීම යන්න පුළුවන්. The 68 bit නම් it's up to certain level, okay. So that is floating point. And when it comes to boolean, as I told you, it's 1 bit, because 1 bit කියන්නේ yes කියන එක එක value එකක්, නැත්නම් false කියන එක 0 if not 1, true or false ඒ වගේ එකක්. හරිද? So 1 bit boolean කියන data type එකේ value එක it's 1 bit. Somehow one value only would be passed, yes or no, 1 no 1 no 0 නැත්නම් true or false එකකින් එකක් තමයි එකක් නේද pass වෙන්නේ නේද. ඒකට legal range of the boolean data type is true or false. Not, if not, you can say yes or no, something like that. And character, it's 16 bit, okay. You can have whatever the character you want, okay, in it, okay. Auto own a character ekak. Vacha I'll teach you, okay, later on I'll teach you what is when we are learning about this vacha and all, when we are coding actually, okay, when we are doing this SQL I'll teach you, okay. And then what will be, so who asked me what is the difference between the short and the, yeah, that is the difference. So see, short is a numeric value, Puta. Short is numeric, okay. You can only give numeric value into short, okay. When it comes to cha, it's characters, okay. Not only numbers can be given, but also letters, symbols, all the things can be given as an input. Clear? That is the difference, okay. Yeah, both are 16 bit. Yeah, you have to clearly understand, okay. Both are 16 bit, but you have to understand this is on, yeah, that is why I was explaining earlier. Lamain oyala understand karanna short කියන එක only numbers can be inserted, okay. Numbers like 0 1 numbers කියනවා දන්නවනේ. numbers විතරයි ඔයාට insert කරන්න පුළුවන් short කියන data type එකේ. දැන් හිතන්න මෙතන chair එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ chair එකේ මම කියනවා only humans can come and sit, but can we allow dogs and other animal to come and sit over there? No, because it has been allocated for that particular data type. Only numbers can be stored there. එතකොට number විතරයි. දැන් ඔයාලා සමහර විට බලලා ඇති in some websites or in some other forms පුතා, when you are trying to insert a value, එතන කියනවා you can insert only, සමහර විට අපි දෙනව නේද ඔයාගේ phone number එක insert කරන්න කියලා දෙන දැනදී we would enter our name. සමහර කට්ටිය ඉන්නව නේද, we change the data and we give some other values into those fields. So it shows you the error. Here you can type only numbers, here you can type only your phone number, like that an error would pop up, isn't it? So short කියන එක, that is the data type. මෙතන මේ data විතරක් තමයි store කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයාට වෙන datas ගෙතින් මෙතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා store කරන්න බෑ. Okay, only that. Now integer age කියලා variable එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අර age එක විතරක් තමයි එතන insert කරන්න පුළුවන්. You can't just short කියලා age කියලා variable එකක් තියෙනවා නම් you can type only a what age. You cannot just type your name and other address and all the other stuffs in that particular location. Am I clear? But when it comes to character, since it has the same value, but the character, the legal range is different. You can type the letters, numbers, symbols, whatever you want. Okay, numbers could be inserted, values could be inserted, symbols could be inserted, letters could be inserted, everything could be inserted in the character, under the character. So address එක එහෙම, are we having only numbers? Are we having only the letters? Are we having only the symbol? We have all the things. We are having symbols, commas දානවා නේද? එහෙමත් නැත්නම් backward slash එක දානවා. And then we are having letters, isn't it? Numbers would be there. Everything comes under, but in an address, it contains everything. So ඒ වගේ value එකට අපි කියන්න පුළුවන් character. Okay, char charactered value එකක් කියලා. char data type එකකින් අපිට ඒ වගේ value එකක් insert කරන්න පුළුවන්. Even your name can come under char because it contains letters, text, isn't it? Am I clear? Then හරි මේක තේරුණාද short and char එකේ තියෙන different එක? නැත්නම් should I need to explain it in another way? කියන්න බලන්න කාට හරි මේකෙන් doubt එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා. Later on I'll be, when we are doing the database, because when we are creating the database, there mainly we will be calling all the datas with the data types. We won't just say name එක insert then කරන්න කියලා. We have to definitely mention the data type of the day. This field is this කියන එක. Okay, so later on we'll learn about that. Important කියලා කියන්නේ any number of variable of the same type can be declared on the same line. Okay, and variable must have the unique identifier, and then they must be separated by the commas. Okay, and semicolon is used to single and okay, then මොනවාද කියලා කිව්වොත් integer කියන data type එක මේක එක location එකක්. Okay, but it is also integer data type. B කියන එකත් show you, I'll draw it and show you, if not you won't understand. Doubts in a killing, okay? Doubts you sedda illama killing, okay? If not, you won't understand. Assume, no, this is your RAM. I'll just draw. This is your RAM. And as you guys know, your RAM has these locations, memory locations. Okay, slots. We call this as memory location. Okay, it has memory locations like this. So when you are running something in your computer, these locations will be taken over by that particular software. Assume that I am running Zoom. So Zoom will come and store over here. The value, Zoom value will be stored over here. Okay, so this is what is currently has been inserted into this feed. And then second, assume that I have opened VLC media player. So VLC media player would come and store over here. That value will be taken this particular location, memory location. Assume that I have closed the VLC media player, and then already PowerPoint is running over here. Okay, PPT is already, PowerPoint is already, it was here. Then once I close the VLC media player, okay, that is what I was explaining at the beginning. Location එකේ temporarily තමයි මේ data එක තියෙන්නේ. It would change according to the execution. So if I close this, then this particular data would come and store over here. PowerPoint come instead of VLC media player. PowerPoint comes and it will store its data value over there. තේරුණාද? මේ වගේ තමයි ඔයගේ memory එකේ තුලෙත් මේ වගේ තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. So when it comes to variables, variable එකක් හදනකොට ඔයා කියනවා මේ location එක ගන්න. Okay, memory එකේ location එකක් ගන්න. මෙතන only integers can be stored. Integer data විතරක් තමයි මෙතන store කරන්න පුළුවන්. කියලා අපි කියනවා මෙයාට අපි නමක් දෙනවා. මේ location එකට අපි නමක් දෙනවා A කියලා. මේ A කියන location එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකේදී integer data විතරක් තමයි store කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට assume that user කෙනෙක් දෙනවා කියලා value එකක් 70 කියලා. එතකොට ඒ value එක මෙතන ඇවිත් store වෙනවා. Understood? If they give 170, then it would change. According to the user's input, the value would change. තේරුණාද මේක? එකම එක value එකක් නෙවෙයි මෙතන store වෙන්නේ. ඒක users දෙන value එක අනුව it would change. The memory locations data would be changed. Okay, the value, this is the value. This is the identifier. Okay, this is the data type and this is the identifier. This is the value. Now, in this case, they have mentioned A, B, C කියලා ඔයාට ඕන තරම් data values data identifiers තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. But you have to separate it with the commas. If it is the same data type, you no need to separately create it again and again. කියන්නේ එකම line එකේ අපිට පුළුවන් මේ වගේ variables හදන්න. මේකත් integer data type එකක්. Okay, so we are not telling it again and again, but only the name would be changed. then මෙයාගේ නම B කියන එක වෙන location එකක් හදලා තියෙනවා. then මෙතෙන්ට දෙන value එක user දෙන value එක 100 කියලා කියමුකෝ. சரியா? 100 சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்கன்னா அந்த value வந்து இன்னைக்கு ஸ்டோர் ஆகும். அப்ப இதுமே integer data type வைக்கிற ஒரு location தான். ஆனா இவருடைய பேர் வந்து என்னது B. තේරුණාද මේක? තේරුණාද ළමයි? Okay, so separate locations මේ වගේ තියෙනවා. ඔයාට ඕන value එකක් location එකට name එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා. A B C D කියලා. chairs තුනක් තියෙනවා කියලා හිතන්න. ඒ තුන chairs තුනටම මම A B C D කියලා නම දෙනවා කියලා හිතන්න. And I am telling only human type can come and sit here. එහෙමත් නැත්නම් woman can come and sit here කියලා. නැත්නම් man can sit here කියලා කියනවා. So we can't allow another girl to come and sit over there. Okay, only men has to come and sit. So that is known as data type. Integer වගේ. A, B, C කියන එක වෙන වෙන තැන නේද? All the three are not the same chair. It is separate chairs. But separate men has to come and sit over there. Isn't it? Separate values. මේක තේරුණාද ළමයි? Data type කියන්නේ මොනවාද? මේ A, B, C, D කියන්නේ මොනවාද කියලා තේරුණාද? Here they have given string data type එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවාද? Address. Address is a string data type. So Candy, if not you can say whatever, Matala, Colombo, whatever it is known as it could be an object. Okay, if not it could be a place, it could be whatever. Okay, so string data type එක කියලා කියන්නේ simply created by an assigning a string literal or a string variable. String variable එක කියලා කියන්නේ it's something like we can say whatever, it could be touch and feel or a thing, it could be a place, it could be a an occasion or whatever it is. The string data type එක කියලා කියන්නේ there you can even insert numbers, values, or else you can even insert the symbols, text, whatever it is could be stored under the string data type. So මේ string cha vacha හැම එකක්ම අපි කියන මේ හැම එකකටම cha හැම එකක්ම අපිට characters type කරන්න පුළුවන් data type එකක් තමයි, data memory location එකක් තමයි මේ හැම එකක්ම. Okay, I hope you got the data type, these things. Okay, later on you will be learning this while we are creating the database, you would understand. Then දැනට ඔයා මේක වෙනකන් ඔයාලා understand කරගත්තා නම් ඇති. the memory location එකක් කොහොමද locate කරන්නේ, allocate කරන්නේ, ඒ වගේම කොහොමද ඒකෙන් අපි variable එකක් හදන්නේ කියන එක. So now let's create one database. Manually api create karamu. There are two platforms. Okay, not even two platforms. There are many. Okay, as I taught you, Oracle, Access, me wage godak tiyanawane. At the beginning itself, I showed you all the platforms where you can create database. So in our case, we will be learning about two database platforms. Okay, one is MySQL, okay, PHP MyAdmin කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. In that we will be creating one database, and then there is another software called Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. I have the 2014 version. The latest version is also available. You can download whatever the latest version which is available on the internet. So balanna මේක මම open කරගන්නම්. This is like the server පුතා. දැන් අපි database එකක් create කරනවා නම් it has to be in a server. server location එකේ තමයි location එකක් කරන් ඒ තැනේදී අපි data store කරනවා. Okay, it's like I showed you right in the first beginning itself in the presentation. Can you remember? It's like a barrel, isn't it? So it would have all the databases inside that. So that means inside a server you will be having yeah, many more databases. Okay, database එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ it would be the DBMS එකක් තමයි මේක. දැන් මම පෙන්වුවා නේද ඔයාලට SQL data මේ SQL server management studio කියලා එකක්. So that is known as DBMS, database management system එකක්. But database is inside the server, in your computer server. User will be looking at the database management system, then you will be creating the database. The database data would be in the database. So I'll just show you. Here it is being started. Microsoft SQL Server එක තමයි මම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. ඒත් එක්කම තව එකක් තියෙනවා. I'll show you that as well. We'll create in both the databases, both the platforms. Okay. Now, most of the time when you are developing a Visual Studio software or something, you might need to create a database in MySQL Server. This one, okay? Microsoft SQL Server, you might need to use this. But when it comes to websites and all, it's better to go for PHPMyAdmin, okay? So here බලන්න මේක හරියට බලා ගන්න. ඔයා මේක create කර open කරාම here it would show you the server type, database engine. No, don't say change it, okay? Just keep it as it is. The server name. Server name is your computer's name. Okay, usually it's your computer's name. මෙහෙම ඔයාට computer name එක පෙන්වන්න නැත්නම් ඔයාට පුළුවන් browse for more කියන එකට යන්න. In that, drop it down and you can select your name. Okay, database engine එක drop down කරලා ඔයාට පුළුවන් මේකේ ඔයාගේ computer name එක පෙන්වනවාද කියලා බලන්න. You can select your computer's name and then press OK, then it will get selected. And authentication, let's just keep it as Windows authentication. No need to change. Here it's showing the username is my name and the computer's name. Okay, so this is what is the server name. So ඔයාගේ computer දැනට අපිට වෙනම Apache server එකට හරි like we are just creating manually, isn't it? අපි අපේ computer එකේ නේද අපි database එක හදන්නේ. So when it comes to a large website or else even if it is a software, you have to separately buy a location from the servers. Okay, but now I am going to say like allocate a place or else a server location in my computer itself. Okay, ඔයා මේක publish කරන්න එහෙම යන්නේ නැහනේ. Just for testing purposes, just to teaching purposes only, I am creating this. So then it is going to be in my computer. So my computer is the one will be acting as the database server. Database server mage computer tama. Then metana. Now you have to connect it. So when you are creating it in your computer, it would connect and then it would show you all the databases which you created before. Yeah, මේ විදියට ඔයාගේ server එක okay notepad කියන එක තමයි මගේ computer name එක. So that is the server currently. And then here some other explanation has been given. So when you drop down the databases, you would be able to see all the databases which I created. Now in your case you won't have any because ඔයාලා තාම databases create කරලා නැහනේ. දැන් බලන්න මම නම් කොච්චරනම් හදලා තියෙනවද කියලා DB කියලා because these are for my assignments and from the when I was teaching back in East of Candy campus. For them I have created for the web engineering classes and software engineering classes, all these data tables has been created. හරිද? එතකොට මේ හැම එකක්ම databases which we created for the classes and other stuffs like for the management systems, yeah, employee management system, hospital management system. So for my customers, clients also I have created some databases. Yeah, sales point එකක් තියෙනවා මේක for some softwares I needed some databases, so for that I created few databases in this as well. Then අපි අලුතින් database එකක් design කරමු. හරිද? Now we are having this relational data diagram right with us, which is okay. I'll just open plus this work, okay? Tour guidance කියලා එකක් තිබ්බ නේද? ඒකට අපි database එකක් හදමු ඒකට. where okay other thing then අපි මේකට relational schema එක ලියා ගන්න ඕනේ. tour කියලා මේකක් තියෙනවා, entity එකක් තියෙනවා. So tour ID comes under that categories and then the date has to come in the organize, isn't it? So I'll just type only one relational schema for the tour and then the booking customer. Okay, එකට මම open කරගන්නම් notepad එක. මේක විතරක් හරි. I will just take this. Tour is the relation, right? So inside that we are having tour ID underscore ID comma, so that is the primary key ned, and then we are having first name last name කියලා එහෙම දාගත්තා නම් හොඳයි නේද? So I'll just type F as first name and then last name කියලා comma, then we are having category location. Okay, location sorry category and then location comma rate rate එක okay rate එකත් ඒකෙම තමයි එන්නේ. Date won't come on it. Number of numbers allowed, maximum number of members allowed neither. So this particular tour the customer has booked on this particular day. Okay, then natural date won't come here. For that what we have to do is book කියලා තව variable එකක් මේකක් හදා ගන්න ඕනේ relation එකක්. So in this only we'll be having tour ID. Before that we'll create another relational schema for this. Okay, customer ගේ මොනවාද primary key එක custom ID නේද? නැත්නම් registration ID, is it? So I'll just keep it as custom ID CID comma telephone number. Telephone number we have to have separately. For that also we have to separately because that is a what kind of a data type is it is attribute multi-value. Very good Pulasti. So multi-value එකක් නම් we have to separately create it in another table, right? In another relational schema, isn't it? Then අපි මෙතන telephone number is no need, but address line 1 line 2 line 1 එකට අපි කියමු line 1 comma line 2, the state city, all this can come because that since it is the composite key attribute. Okay, and then tour preferences and the number of guest accompany. So these things can come over here neither. Comma name the customer. So that has to come after the customer ID. We'll let like that. Okay, so customer ID, first name, last name, score name. Come on. Okay. So we have created two relational schema for the tour and the customer. Then book එකට එන්න ඕනේ වෙනම tour ID එක this tour ID comma මේක තමයි first normalization එක බලන්න has been booked by customer ID, this customer ID, the date තේරුණාද මේක on this date, and we have separately have to have tel number එකට. For the telephone number you have to have a separate another table where C ID, okay, comma the telephone number. Understood? So here we can have multiple telephone numbers. Am I clear? So same ID could have multiple telephone numbers. So see, we are having almost බලන්න එකම relation එකක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ, but when you are normalizing it you will get 2 or 4 tables like this. So here first normalization එකේ it is like this. All the other non-key attributes are fully functionally depend on the primary key. So this is what is here, right? Here may occur fully function dependent. But when it comes to tour ID and this one, having the date separately, customer කෙනෙක් book කරලා තිනවා මොන tour එකද? Without the tour ID, sorry, this has to be ID, right? Without the tour ID, no point of having this one, right? The date. Tour ID එකක් book කරලා තියෙන date එකක් මොන customer කියලා දන්නේ. So date is fully function depending on both the tour ID and customer ID. Am I clear? දැන් මෙතන අපිට දාන්න පුළුවන් customer ගේ නම, okay? Customer name කියලා මෙතන එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියමුකෝ. Now you tell me, customer name, is it fully depending on the both the මේකද නැත්නම් මොන වගේ normalization එකක්ද මේක? කියන්න බලන්න. It comes under which normalization? Customer name. Partial. Very good. Then what is the normalization? Second normalization neda. On a primary key, a non-key primary partially depending. No, customer name එක tour ID එකේ depend කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. නේද? So tour ID first name last name එක මේකට එන්නත් ඕනේ නැහැ නේද? When it comes to tour ID, no point of having the first name and the last name. Only the name. For the custom only we have to have the first name, last name, mid name and all. Then balanna customer first name, if it is there, it is partially depending on a primary key, not the both the key. Okay, so it's like that. That is the second normalization. So if there is something like ID එක වෙනම දීලා වෙන මොනාර එකක් non key primary key එකක් non key attribute එකක් depending on another non key attribute means that is the third normalization neda ekana තමයි අපි බැලුවේ නේද. So that is how we create this. So we are having almost 4 tables. We'll have this now. When you try to write this down, like මේ හැම එකටම ඔයා normalize මේ මොනවාද normalize නෙවෙයි relational schema එක ලියන්න ගියොත් it would take much more time, isn't it? For all these things when you are doing, like maybe sometimes for organize also maybe you might need to have another table, right? So that depends. So you have to come up with the relational schema for this. So you think and you have to come up with it. Then බලන්න අපි any doubts in it? Why are we taking relationships to as schemas? That is why, because relationships, if you don't take the relationship as the relational schema, when you, that is why we draw the relational schema. Here I was explaining, the last class I was explaining, when it comes to date or else maybe time, sometimes times, that has to come under the relation, because no point of having the date under the tour. Then හිතන්න tour එකක් තියෙනවා, tour ID එක මේක, tour category එක මේක, tour location, everything has been given. නිකන් date එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. Okay, booking date එකක් නේද? Date එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ somehow it's a booking date, isn't it? No point of just putting a date in the tour, isn't it? Tour එකේදී tour එකට date එකක් කියලා එහෙම මේක තමයි date එක කියලා තියෙනවද? No. So book කරන date එක තමයි tour එක conduct ඒ කියන්නේ tour එක යන්න වෙන්නේ, isn't it? So customers are the one who will be booking it. So they are the one who will be selecting the date as well. So date cannot come under the tour. So it should come under book. Can you remember in the last class I taught you time and the date has to come under the relation when in some cases. Okay, you have to make sure that you understand the thing. Okay, in last class I was explaining about that thing. Okay, I hope you understood that. Last class itself I was explaining the time and the date, it has to come under the relation කියලා. So in some cases it is like that. Okay, so you have to understand that. So may date එක මෙතන දාලා වැඩක් තියෙනවද? No point of putting it in under the tour. But when it comes to book, customer booking a tour on this particular date. So that is why we have to come up with something called relational schema where we will be separately writing. This tour has been booked by this customer on this date. The customer's name is this. We are having a like an output or else may table එකෙන් තමයි අපිට වැඩක්ම තියෙන්නේ. If not having just the customer ge detail එක බලන්න ඕනේ නම් we can separately go here. Tour detail එක බලන්න ඕනේ නම් මේක බලන්න පුළුවන්. But which customer booking detail එක බලන්න ඕනේ නම් we have to go to this table. This customer has been booked this day tour on this date. කියන එක. Understood or should I need to explain? Driver details and the vehicle details. Where is it? Driver details and vehicle details. Is it here? Where's the driver details and vehicle details පුතා? ළමයින් ඔයාලා හොඳටම තේරුම් ගන්න. අපි ER diagram එක තමයි අපි relational schema එකට turn කරන්නේ. Okay, we are not turning something into some other. You have to understand first thing පුතා. First of all you have to understand, you have to come up with the relation. You will be coming up with the relational schema, right? You won't add like additional stuffs into that. Okay, you have to make sure that you are adding the whatever that is properly given over here in the relational schema. එමත් නැත්තම් මේ ER diagram එකක් ඕනේ නැහැනේ පුතා. අපිට ඕන එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන් නම්. Okay, මෙතන driver කියලා මොකුත් එහෙම දීලා නැහැනේ. Okay, so here there is nothing called driver or any other thing. Okay, I am talking about this particular relational diagram, so we can consider about this right for now. Okay, not we if we consider about other stuff then we won't have much time to come up with the database. Okay, so පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. So that is like you are asking now in this ER diagram, is it there? Driver something like that? Tour driver හැම කියලා තියෙනවද? No, right? I cannot find it out. So plus 30 හැම එකක් තිබ්බද පුතා? Okay, so just the first thing we'll do like this. We'll come up with the relational schema for this entire ER diagram. If not, you won't understand. Okay, මේ full ER diagram එකටම අපි relational schema එක හදාගමු. ඊට පස්සේ අපි database එක හදමු. Okay, yeah, even I couldn't see anything like that. We'll just come up with where should admins puta when it comes to driver details and vehicle details. Drivers details, okay, I don't know how, like according to my knowledge now, I really didn't get your question, but I'll just tell you. Then driver detail kela table ekak tiyena. Okay, assume that driver details, there is a driver, you are having an entity. So driver ID, driver name, all this comes under drive entity, right? So drivers drive what? The relation should I don't have a schema as well. So you're asking about the vehicle. Okay, so drivers drive vehicle. So we'll just I am assuming and telling, because since there is nothing, I'm assuming and telling just to give you the answer. Driver kiyala entity ekak tiyenawa and you are having a vehicle entity. driver drives vehicle, isn't it? So that is how it happens, isn't it? So separately for the vehicle, you will be having vehicle ID, vehicle name, vehicle blah, 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 all the things, all the attributes. And for the driver separately, you will be having what? Driver ID, driver, all the things will be there. Okay. So driver drives vehicle, but here there is no, they are according to the scenario only, you have to come up with this thing. In that, if maybe in your case, if the scenario is, if it says this particular driver drives this particular vehicle on this date, you have to come with a separate relation schema for that separately. Okay. So I do currently, since we don't have a scenario or else a case study, we cannot consider about that. So we'll just keep it as it is. Okay. Ekanang අපි මේක ගැන බැලුවතින් හොඳයි. Okay. Notepad plus 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 notepad. Notepad Musfiq, Notepad plus plus is something where you can use to code. Okay. Notepad plus plus is a coding, like you can use it as an IDE where you can code using it. And notepad ன்னு சொன்னா அதுல இருக்கிற ஒரு additional formatting தான் notepad plus plus ன்றது. சரியா? notepad தான் notepad வந்து கொஞ்சம் additionalான ஒரு platform உண்டு. அதுல உங்களுக்கு அது யூஸ் பண்ணி கோட் எல்லாம் பண்ணலாம். Now we'll consider about this thing. Okay. So நாங்க இத பாப்போம் first க்கு. මට ඕනේ දැන් ළමයි නොවට මං හිතන විදිහට relational schema එක තේරෙලා නැහැ. ඔයාලා විවිධ questions අහනකොට මට තේරෙන විදිහට you have not understood the relational schema. Who understood it? Then make a first thing you have to understand, what you have to understand is now you are separately, it depends on the scenario. Okay. So since this scenario is showing that the date as well, somehow the date should come under the book. The booking, some maybe in the question itself, I might have added that. Okay. But a question, I don't have it right with me right now. So in the question, in the scenario or as the case study itself, they might have mentioned this particular tour could be booked by the customers on separate, like various dates. Okay. So again, විවිධ then වලට යන්න පුළුවන් customers ලට විවිධ දවස් වලට ඒ වගේ එකක්. Okay. So we'll just come up with a relational schema for that first of all. This is also you have to do. Okay. That's why I asked you to come up with the relational schema as well in the last class. So relation එකට වෙනම ඔයාට attribute එකක් තියෙනවා නම්, if it has an attribute, then you have to come up with a separate but relational schema. That is the only thing. Okay, මම මෙහෙම කියන්නම්කෝ. ඒකට attribute එකක් තියෙනවා නම් විතරක් තමයි ඔයාලා මේ විදිහට වෙනම attribute වෙනම relational schema එකක් ඒකට ලියන්න ඕනේ. If it doesn't have anything like that, then no need to worry about it. Worry about the relation. Okay. So assume that tour could be organized by the coordinators. Okay, we'll take that as an example. So coordinators lata එයාලටම කියලා coordinator ID එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, coordinator name එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, coordinators phone number, all these could come under coordinators entity, isn't it? So coordinators are the one who will be organizing the tour. So then tours details is already there. Tour details is already there. Tour ID, name, category, all those are there. Then are they mentioning anything like coordinators are organizing the tour on a particular day kiyala? No, they have already organized it and they have kept it in the system. So no need to worry about this organized now. So what you have to do is, the additional thing that you have to added over here is coordinator details. එතකොට කාට හරි coordinator ගේ detail එක බලන්න ඕනේ නම් එයාලට පුළුවන් coordinator කියලා type කරලා එයාලගේ නම, එයාලගේ number ඔක්කොම බලා ගන්න. It depends on admin. Then බලා ගන්න මෙතන tour guide කියලා තව entity එකක් තියෙනවනේ. Tour, okay, we'll do like this. Coordinator. So this is for the customer and the tour, and then we'll say coordinator. Coordinators, yeah. Sorry. okay, coordinator එයාට මෙතන නම් දීලා නැහැ, but somehow coordinator should have an idea or what, should have the ID, right? සම කොහොමටත් එයාට ID එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. uniquely identify කරන්න entity එකක් නම් identify කරන්න තියෙන්න ඕනේ. even ID විතරක් හරි තියෙන්න ඕනේ. and then name could be there, and then phone number තියෙනවා නම් අපිට ඒකට වෙනම coordinator phone number කියලා මෙතන වෙනම entity, මෙතන අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් customer tel number කියලා. customer underscore tel number ඒකට අදාළ table එකක් තමයි මේක. so separately customer tel number කියලා වෙනම එකක් තියෙනවා. in that the same ID could have many more customer telephone numbers. Okay, so that is there. And then coordinator coordinate කරනවා මොනවද, organize කරනවා tour එක. so for separately organize මේ දාට තමයි කරන්නේ. නැත්නම් on this time only they are organizing කියලා මොකුත් මෙතන දීලා නැති හින්දා we no need to have another relation for that. no point of having it itself, isn't it? then we are having hotel. okay, making reservation. so coordinators will make reservation in hotels. okay, so that is there, right? so we can say that make reservation if okay, number of rooms, name, this coordinator has made reservation on this particular hotel. making reservation neke number of room could come. okay, because how many number this particular coordinator has made a reservation for this particular tour, and for this particular tour how many rooms has been allocated, so that can come under making reservation. අපිට number of room එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. so like it's like this. hotel කියලා එකක් තියෙනවද? hotel කියලා අපිට වෙනම entity එකක් තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. so under that what can come, you can have hotel number, not hotel ID. hotel ID කියලා demo, that is the primary key. and then comma we are having email නේද? email එක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. hotel එකට email එකක් තියෙනවා. the things. now you have to ඔයාට මේකම easily understand කරගන්න පුළුවන්. you can take it like this. now hotel එක ගැන කියනවා නම් we can say hotel can have an ID, hotel can have an email, hotel can have a telephone number, hotel can have an address, hotel can have a name. but hotel can it have a number of room? it can have a number of room. it could have 100 rooms, but booking number of room එක තමයි මෙතන එන්නේ නේද? so we can't say hotel එකේ book කරලා තියෙනවා මෙච්චර number of room කියලා we can't tell. okay, so it could have 100 rooms, so that is the number of rooms. okay, but when we are making the reservation 100 માં අපි reserve කරන්නේ නැනේ. we would reserve like 10 or නැත්නම් 20 වගේ rooms, isn't it? so that has to come under making reservation. so then number of room has to come under making reservation. so I'll just explain you. email එක මම හැම එකක්ම දාන්න නැතුව for like telephone number එක it can come over here, if not separately hotel telephone number කියලා ඔයාලට එකක් හදන්න පුළුවන්. address. now let's say coordinators coordinates hotels, isn't it? organize, okay, make reservation in the hotel. so we'll say make that is one. so this coordinator ID, this ID has made in this particular hotel ID, they have made a reservation the number of room. am I clear? Is this is clear? Then make අපිට අනිවාර්යෙන් ඕන වෙනවා. Make reservation කියන එක we might need because organize for that we no need. Okay. So this particular coordinator has made a hotel reservation and then the number of rooms which they have reserved is this. කියන එක එනවා. So සමහර attributes තියෙනවා which is related to that relationship. Okay. So that has to be separately written when it comes to relational schema. Now we'll say tour has been assigned to a tour guide. Okay. එතකොට tour නම් තියෙනවා අපි ගාව. tour guide එකට වෙනම අපි හදා ගන්න ඕනේ. So tour guide මොනවද කරන්නේ? employee number, address, name, DOB, special training area. Okay, these can come. assign එකට ඕනේ නෑනේ. Isn't it? assign එකට වෙනම relation එකක් ඕනේ නෑ. This tour එක මේකට assign it could change, isn't it? So tour guide එකට change වෙන්න පුළුවන්. assign කරන එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ හින්දා මේක ඕනේ නෑ. But when it comes to booking, okay, this tour guide has been booked for this customer. Okay. එතකොට මේ අපිට customer තියෙනවා. මේ customer ID has been booked to this tour guide. මේ ඔක්කොම අපිට මෙතනෙම දාගන්න පුළුවන්. වෙනම book කියන එකට අපිට ඕන නැහැ relation එකක්. Okay. So when it comes to room number, when it comes to date, when it comes to time, so some attributes which would related to the relation. So at that time only we have to separately have a relational schema for that. මේකට ඔයාලට then මෙතන වෙනකන් තියෙනවා. Now it's almost time is up, right? So then what we can do is now we have up to the making reservation, isn't it? So can you guys come up with the relational schema for the tour guidance this ER diagram? Who can come up with the relational schema? How කාටද පුළුවන්? මම ඔයාලට example එකක් ඕනේ නම් පෙන්නන්න. ER diagram and the relational schema, then you will understand. Next class එනකොට ඔයාලට පුළුවන්ද? Now some of you have done the work, right? Okay. So some have done the work. So what you do is turn the wait. I'll show you a few examples. එතකොට ඔයාලට understand කරගන්න පුළුවන්. You have to එතකොට ඔයාලා think කරන්න වෙනවා. හරිද? You have to think. මෙහෙම තියනවා නම් මේකට අපිට වෙනම එකක් හදන්න වෙනවද relation එකට? ඉතින් මම ඔයාලට example එකක් පෙන්නන්නම්. software engineering web engineering පුතා මට මං ඇහුවා මේ මට මේකක් දෙන්න කියලා ඔයාලට assignment එක issue කරන්න but still I didn't get a time for it. I'll talk to them. ඔයාලා කිව්වා මට confirm කරනවා කියලා දුන්නාම ඔයාලට issue කරන්නම්. හරිද? Wait. I'll show you the relational schema example, then you will understand with the near diagram. Next class, I'll come up with one example, then you can easily see that. I'll have a separate ER diagram and then for the same ER diagram, we'll have another relational schema as well. Then you will understand. Okay, here I have just a small example over here. Yeah, okay, here. Look at this is the ER diagram. Okay, invoice, payment, as guest, and comment and complaints, room, reservation, facilities, all these. Okay. එතකොට කීයද තියෙන්නේ 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 entities. But when it comes to when it comes to the relational schema, we'll be having all these things: invoice, telephone. Here guest එකට වෙනම තියෙනවා telephone. Can you remember? I told you, right? When it comes to telephone number, you have to separately have to have another table just to have the telephone number. So guest telephone number, here it relates. And then facility එකට වෙනම තියෙනවා reservation, room, comments, and then payment. Reservation, are we having a yeah, reservation also we are having, but facilities, room, comments, yeah, comment and complaints, payment. Okay, according to this, yeah, they don't have any attributes for the relation. Relation එකට attribute එකක් තියෙනවා නම් වෙනම යාලා මෙතන පෙන්නලා ඇති, but there is nothing. So look at this. Invoice, just all the attributes. And then here this has been GID, that means guest ID, which is a foreign key, because since it is the primary key of the guest table, it has been derived from this to but invoice table, which is the foreign key. Okay, guest telephone number කියලා කියන්නේ it has been separately added because since they are having a telephone number, since it is what, since it is a multi-valued attribute. මොනවාද ඒක? multi-valued attribute එකක් නේද? multi-valued attribute එකක් නම් ඒකට වෙනම ඔයාලා මේ වගේ table එකක් හදන්න ඕනේ. And then facility, and then here see this is one, but RID is room ID. Okay, has been derived from this one, and then it has been using over here as a foreign key. Okay, මෙතන ඒ වගේම තව එකක් තියෙන facility ID. So all these, they have not given something, all the things over here. Okay, බලන්න මෙතන යාලා දීලා තියෙනවද? room එකේ room ID එක තියෙනවා, reservation එකේ reservation ID එක තියෙනවා. But you have to come up with a relational schema. Make a reservation එක කවුද කරන්නේ? Facilities මේකදී එන්න ඕනේ. ඔයාලා තමයි මේක room reservation මොන එකද reservation කරන්නේ? Okay, room එක තමයි reservation කරන්නේ. එතකොට here they are having the relation නේ. So reservation is being by room. So then facilities has been included in the reservation. So that's two facility ID and then the room ID has to come here. A relation එක තියෙනවනේ. Okay, relation එක බලලා ඒ IDs දෙක ඔයාලා දැන් මෙතන comment එකටත් reservation එකටත් මේ connection එකක් නැහැ. Then we no need to have the comment ID over here. But guest and the comment both are having a relation. Two comment කියන එක මෙතන තියෙනවා නේද? Then instead of yeah, guest ID can be there in the comment table. Okay, we'll see. Comment එකේ මේ තියෙන්නේ guest ID එක තියෙනවා. Okay, because they are the one who's doing the comment. Am I clear? So maybe sometimes if there is something like if you have added an attribute into the relation, then that also has to be separately driven over there. Yeah, like another table has to come here. මේක තේරුණාද? මම මේ link එක වත් එක share කරන්නම්. Then you can go through this example as well. Then come up with the relational schema. So we can, in the next class, we can design the database then. හරිද? මම මේක link එක share කරා බලන්න මේක ටිකක් begin බලන්න idea එක ගන්න. Then ඔයාලගේ අර tour guide කියන ER diagram එකට මේ relational schema එක මේ වගේ එකක් ලියාගෙන එන්න. ඒකට ඒකෙන් දෙකකට තමයි මම කිව්වේ. In two cases you have to have the date in the relational. This has to come in the book because the customer book in on which date කියන එක එතනට එන්න ඕනේ date එක. ඒ වගේම hotel number of room කියන එක ඒකත් ටිකක් බලන්න. එතකොට ඔයාලට පුළුවන් assumption එකක් විදියට අන්තිමට edit කරන්න. So no point of having the room number separately in the room hotel table, since we have to check the coordinator how many rooms that they have booked. We have to separately edit into the relation. Likewise, you can come up with the assumption as well. Okay, so that's all, Putha. Any other doubts? Do you have any doubts, guys? Blood request and branch அது பார்த்து தான் நாங்க சொல்லணும். எனக்கு நீங்க ER diagram காட்டினீங்கன்னா எனக்கு சொல்லலாம் முஸ்ஃபிக். பிளட் ரிக்வெஸ்ட்ன்றது வந்து ஒரு என்டிட்டியா, பிரான்ச்னு சொல்றது ஒரு என்டிட்டி. ஏன்னா அப்ப at a டைம் ஒருத்தருக்கு வந்து ஒரு பிரான்ச்ல இருந்து பிளட் வந்து ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்படுது, ஏன்னா at a டைம் வந்து ரிக்வெஸ்ட், எனக்கு அது விளங்கல. நாங்க அது ஸ்கீமை வந்து நாங்க பார்ப்போம். சரியா? எனக்கு நீங்க மெயில் பண்ணீங்க, எனக்கு டைமே இல்லை, நான் மெயில் வாட்ஸ்அப்ஸ் எதுவுமே பார்க்கல. இஃப் ஐ ஹேட் டைம் ஐ செக் இட் அண்ட் லெட் யூ நோ. ஓகே, అయితే நான் தந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள் தான் எனக்கு அது ரிமெம்பர் பண்ணிக்கொள்ளலாம் இருக்குது. சரியா? அந்த இஆர் டயக்ராம பார்த்தேன்னா தான் எனக்கு சொல்லலாம். இஆர் டயக்ராம் இல்லாம சொல்லலாது. நான் இப்போ ஓபன் பண்ணி அதை பார்க்க போனோட டைம் ஆகும். பரவாயில்ல அப்படின்றாலும் என்ன இன்ச் அதுல கொண்டு எனக்கு சொல்லுங்க பார்க்க. பிளட் வந்து பிரான்ச்சஸ்ல வந்து ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்படுது. அதான் அப்ப ஒன்று நாங்க எடுத்தோம்னு சொன்னா, ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட ஒரு பிளட் வேணும்னு சொன்னா ஒரு பிளட் குரூப் வந்து ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்படுது ஒரே ஒரு பிரான்ச்லயா, இல்லாட்டி நிறைய பிரான்ச்சஸ்ல வந்து ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்படலாமா? எனக்கு அந்த ஸ்கீமாவே நாஃபம் இல்ல. ஓகே, அப்ப நாங்க ஒரு பிரான்ச் எடுத்தோம்னு சொன்னா அதுல நிறைய ரிக்வெஸ்ட் ஈக்கலாம். ஒரு பிரான்ச் எடுத்தோம்னு சொன்னா அதுல நிறைய பிளட் ரிக்வெஸ்ட் ஈக்கலாம். இப்ப ஏ பாசிட்டிவ் வேணும், பி பாசிட்டிவ் வேணும், அப்படி அப்படி நிறைய ரிக்வெஸ்ட் வரலாம். அதே மாதிரி ஒரு பிரான்ச் எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம்னு சொன்ன, ஒரு பிளட் ரிக்வெஸ்ட் எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம்னு சொன்னா அவங்க வந்து ஒரே ஒரு பிரான்ச்சுக்கு கொடுத்தா கேட்பாங்க, சில நேரத்துக்கு ஒரே ஒரு பிரான்ச்சுக்கு கொடுத்து கேட்கலாம். அப்படி இல்லாட்டி வந்து நிறைய பிரான்ச்சஸ்ல வந்து கேட்கலாம். ஏன்னா ஒரே ஒரு பிரான்ச்ல இல்லாட்டி, அதனால மெனி டு மெனி ரிலேஷன் தான் வரும் அதுக்கு. சரி, அது கொண்டு பாருங்க. ஓகே, அப்ப if there is no doubt we can wind up the session there. Okay guys, then do the relational schema for the ER diagram, and you can go through this to get the idea. Come up with the relational schema so we can develop the database for that. Okay, and then we'll meet up in the next class. See you guys, welcome. Okay Mushfiq, I'll check the mail, okay, but not now, I'll later check.